Hi, this is Dave, and this is a follow-up to the CSTA Oakville Chapter February 2015 chapter meeting in Oakville that took place, well, yesterday. Today, it's February the 12th as I record this video. So there were some, we weren't able to show a couple of things at the end of the meeting because we ran out of time and because we weren't actually able to connect to the internet at the facility that we were at. So, and I had some questions about, scanning and, how to do some other things. So I'm putting together a quick video here just to show some of the CSTA Oakville chapter members that were at the meeting how, continue on with the theme, this is how I do it. So this is, so we're in Thinkorswim right now. And what I'm going to show you is, what I wanted to show you yesterday is how I scan for certain opportunities to look at certain charts, to find the conditions of charts that I'm looking for. So I'm going to start with a new scan so that you can see how I construct a scan. So basically, once you need there are other software packages to do this. I'm using Thinkorswim. I think it's a great package. You can do a lot of things with it. So when you open up Thinkorswim, even if you just get a demo account. Okay, I just had to take a phone call there. Apologize. Where did we leave off? So we're talking about putting together a scan. So in Thinkorswim, this is on the main, on the main tab. You can click on the scan button. Other packages have other scanning functionality. Thinkorswim's scanning functionality is pretty decent. I've used, scans on TradeStation and other higher end packages, and Thinkorswim is really catching up. It really can do a lot of things. So let's put together. Let's assume that none of these exist, and we're just going to put together. A brand new scan altogether. So what we would do is we would, and there are, just as a side note, there are some, sort of canned or pre-packaged scans that are available on the scanning tab. So when you click the scan, you've got different scanning options. I'm looking for a condition in the stock scan. So I'm using the stock hacker, but there is, an option hacker, a spread hacker, for people who trade spreads and things. I'm not that familiar with the spread stuff. Option hacker just, deals with option scanning criteria. I'm just dealing with the stock. I'm looking for a stock condition. So let's do that. So we want to set up a new scan, and basically what I'm going to do is I want to search for. I'm basically interested in looking at all stocks. Okay, and what I'm going to do is first I'm going to add some stock criteria, and then I'm going to add some study criteria. So initially I want to filter down stocks that trade a certain amount of volume and that trade over $10. I don't want to really trade stocks under $10. I want to trade stocks that are over $10 in value. So, and then I'm going to drill down to a couple of technical indicators to try to find the condition. Now, if you remember the condition in my presentation of the charts that I'm looking at, I'm basically looking for charts that are doing this. They've got a nice angle of ascent. They're trading. We're trying to trend trade here, and we're looking for pullbacks as tradable opportunities within this ascending trend of 30 to 45 degrees. Just judging visually. So that's the condition I'm looking for. I'm looking for charts that meet that sort of criteria. So in order to set up this scan, let's just go ahead and do it. So I'm going to add a couple of stock filters. One of the things I want to do is I want to trade stocks that have a volume of, where is volume here? They have a volume of minimum 500,000 shares a day. Okay, so we're dealing with things that are fairly liquid. So I'm going to add this as a criteria, and I'm also going to add in beta here. I'm going to set the beta to 1. Let me just see here. So it should move at least A beta of 1 should move at least as much as the market. But I have this in here so that I can tweak it if I want stocks that are a little bit more, have a little bit more beta, a little bit more movement, a little bit more volatile, I guess. So I'm just going to leave that beta of 1. And I'm going to add another criteria in here, a stock filter, whereby the close is greater than or equal to, well, actually greater than $10. So I'm going to look for the closing price. I'm going to use the closing price with a minimum of $10 per share. Okay. So, I mean, that, you know, that will give me quite a few different matches. If I just hit the scan button at this point in time, you know, this is going to give me, you know, quite a few choices. I've limited it to show me only 50. You can change that to show you up to, I guess, 2,000. But what I want to do now is I want to narrow it down based on my technical criteria. So if you look at, you know, if you think about what is the condition I'm looking for, well, this gray line here is the 50-period moving average. I generally, you know, stocks that are trending higher, you generally want them to hold the 50-period moving average, or at least, you know, I do as part of my criteria. So one of the things I'm going to do is I am going to go back to the scan tab here. I want stocks that are only trading above the 50-period moving average. So in order to do that, we have to add a study filter. And you know, you can base this on any kind of study that they have available in here, even if it's a custom study, which is really cool. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, okay, I use exponential moving averages, so I'm going to find, let me just see here. I'm going to click on custom, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell it, no, let's scratch that. Let me delete this. I'm going to add a condition, right? And the condition is I want a study, and I'm going to look specifically for, oops, cancel that. Let me redo that. I'm going to add a condition, and the condition is going to be based on a study, right? Because I want a technical study. And I basically want a moving average. I don't remember how they denote it, if it's a moving average or exponential. Let's just see here. Okay, here we go. Moving average, exponential. I like to use exponential moving averages. I want a zero offset. So let's see. I want based on the close. So I basically just want a standard 50-period exponential moving average. And I want the price. Okay, so I want greater than or equal to, and I want it greater than or equal to a value, and that value is going to be the 50. I'm sorry, I did this wrong. Let me rephrase this. So the condition I want is I want the price to be, let me just see how this looks. Moving average is great. Okay, so this is wrong. So let me just edit this. So basically what I want is I want the value, price, sorry. I want basically the, I mean, we could use the lower, we could use the close. I'm going to use the close. Okay. For the current period, I want a daily period. I'm sorry for the confusion here. I don't do this all the time. So basically what I'm saying is I want the close of price based on the daily period here, right? The aggregation period is based on day. And I want that to be greater or equal in value to, and let me just go back to moving average here. Moving average. Exponential. I want it to be greater than the 50-period moving average, okay, within 1 bar. So this is going to be, you know, it just happened, it just happened. So I'm going to give it 3 bars so that it will catch fairly recent events. Okay, so I save that criteria and I click OK. So basically now what I have here is I have a custom study, but it's telling me the close of the day is greater than or equal to the 50-period moving average. So if I ever want to make changes to that, I can click on the little pencil and I can edit that in case I've made a mistake. Okay, so basically we've got the closing price on a daily basis is greater than or equal to moving average exponential with a value based on the closing price of 50 within 3 bars. So that's basically what I'm looking for. And I think that will help me find stocks that are probably, in an uptrend. So if I go ahead and I run that study and I scan, it's going to find me some stocks that are above the 15-period moving average. So if we for example, let's look at Adobe, ADBE. So I'm going to flip over to charts and I'm going to go ADBE. And if we look at that, you can see, yeah, it's greater than the 50-period moving average, which I'm sure a lot of stocks are, but it's extended from the 50-period moving average here, this gray line. And you can see it's overbought. Well, I want stocks that are actually oversold. So what I'm going to do to gauge that is, and based on my methodology, is I'm going to look for a situation where the stochastic, is below the 25 mark. So it's more in this kind of position where it's pulled back, but it's above the 50. This isn't a good example because it's below the 50 there. But for example, you see when it's trending higher, and this pullback here, it came down to the 50. It still closed above the 50 here, but the stochastic here was in an oversold position. So I'm trying to find these kinds of conditions here. So let's go back to the scan. I'm going to add another scan criteria. Right, we're still in the Stock Hacker, and I'm going to add another study filter, and I'm just going to do another custom filter. And that way I can customize it. I'm going to delete what's there, and I'm just going to add a new condition. So let's just move this more to the center. I'm going to select a condition. Let me see here. Based on a study with the slow stochastic. And stochastic slow. It's probably here. I'm just not seeing it. Here we go. Stochastic. Is it stochastic slow? Here it is. And okay, so the stochastic slow. So what I'm going to use is you can use the slow K or the slow D. It's using the slow K is fine. The slow K is the main line, and the slow D is the 3-period moving average of the slow K. So I'm just going to use the slow K, and what I want is I want a condition where the slow K on the, let's say I'm going to use a 14-period, right? Because I'm just using the standard settings, a 14-period, and I'm going to use the situation where the slow K based on the 14-period is less than or equal to a value of 25. And I'm going to use that within, I would say within 2 bars. And let's see how that looks. Okay. So if we go ahead and run the scan now, so basically what we're saying is the stochastic slow period, okay, the K period is greater than or equal to 25. That's wrong. I want it less than. So this should be is less than or equal to 25. Now the good thing about this is you can tweak it. So let's go ahead and run this scan, and let's see what kind of results it shows us. Now this is way too many results, so I probably did not do that right, or I didn't fine tune it as much as I really wanted it to be. Okay, at any rate, I mean, this is a good, this is a pretty good filter to try to find stocks that might be trending higher. They're trading above the 50-period moving average, and they've experienced a recent pullback. Now, let me just fine tune this one here. Let's check for ones that have pulled back within the last one bar. Maybe that will sort of narrow our list down a little bit. And let's run a scan here and see the last one brought up 33 stocks. This is bringing up 16. So this will just show the ones that have pulled back within the last one bar, which would be the last, one day. So what I'm going to do here, I don't want to have to memorize all these. So I'm going to actually save these in a watch list just by clicking this button here. I'm going to save this in a watch list, and I'm going to call it scan from today, which is February the 12th, 2015. I'm going to save that. And then that will allow me to, then I can switch over to my chart, and I'm going to, let's see. Okay, so here's the watch list that pulled up right here. I'll just move this up to the top, and I will collapse that other one. So this is the watch list that it just pulled up here. So then what that gives me the ability to do is just to, flip through these charts, and I can find, I can look at these symbols, and I can look at the chart here, and I can see, okay, this one pulled back. You can see the stochastic is buried. The chart is tracking the 50-period moving average. Now, this does require still some observation intervention, for lack of a better word. You still need to go through and look at the charts to make sure they're meeting your criteria. This is just a way to narrow down the universe of thousands of stocks into a more manageable list of 16 stocks. Now I can usually look at this and see if I'm interested in the charts pretty quickly. Now, one of the other things I can do as well is this is one of the charts I use, but the chart that I was showing yesterday, let me just see here if I can pull it up, are these charts. And I'm just going to need to resize. I'm going to need to resize the screen here. So let me just put this on pause and resize everything. Okay, so here are the sort of the traditional analysis charts that I use, and basically what I'm looking at here, you've got here you've got this is a daily chart, and this is a 1 hour chart. Okay, this is a 90-day 1 hour. This is a five-year daily, but basically this is a daily chart. This is an hourly chart. And this is a seasonal average chart over the last 5 years. Okay, this is not the greatest pen to use, but this is a seasonal chart over the last 5 years. So this is taking a seasonal average. Now you could actually change this to a 10-year daily chart, and it will give you a little bit different seasonal average. I like to use the last 5 years just because I find the last 5 years gives me more of a realistic, what's going on over the last couple of years. So I just use a 5-year average. So what I start to do then is I can start flipping through my charts pretty quickly. Now you can't see the list of charts, but because I've got two monitors, and this setup here is on the right monitor, and I've moved my other watch list to the left monitor, but I've linked all my charts, so I can just flip through the charts pretty quickly like this and click the different symbols and see what they're doing. So essentially what I do is I'm going to start at the top of the list, and we've got about 16 entries here. I'm not going to cover them all, but you can see here the conditions are being met, where you've got this one looks pretty decent. You've pulled back into support here. You seem to be holding support. Now what I can do is drill down to the 60-minute chart, and I can look at it and see if I'm interested in the pattern, or if it's setting up. What I can do, like for example, if we've got a trend line in play like this sort of situation, or a triangle, I can set an alert on this triangle. If I'm interested in trading this when it breaks out of that triangle, I could easily set an alert on that specific trend line that if the price breaks out of there, that I'm interested in trading it. And the reason why is that there's my 60-minute trigger that we talked about, as a trigger entry point based on my methodology. If I look at the seasonal tendency, we're right here. You can see the crosshairs are all lined up on the charts. So it looks like we have a tendency to move higher into the end of March, right? So that gives me confidence in taking the trade when I've got a good chart condition and I've got a potential pattern setting up as a trigger on the 60-minute chart. So this is one that that looks pretty interesting to me. And I might add to my watch list by just setting up an alert here so that it will email me or create a sound to alert me to the fact that this is breaking out and it might be ready to take a trade. So I'm going to add that to a closer watch list. I can just flip through the charts though pretty quickly. I'm not interested in that at all. I just don't like the way it looks. I don't like that gap situation. I don't like the seasonal chart. So, it took me 2 seconds to figure that out. This one looks interesting. I like the seasonal tendency. This is REG. And, what I would do is just drill into the 60-minute chart. And, this looks like it's putting in, it looks like it put in a double bottom and it retested that and it held and it's starting to move higher. You don't have any clean trend lines here just because it's a pretty sloppy pattern. If I expand the 60-minute chart out, you can see it's it's a pretty sloppy pattern, but you can see nice bottoming action here. And if we break back up above this point here out of this range, then we may have put in a bottom and my risk would be down here. So that's something that's interesting. I like the seasonal chart. I like the daily chart. So that's another interesting stock to look at. PLD. Actually, I already have a position in this. Or no, I'm bidding on a position in this already. If it pulls back a little bit, but see, you can see the same logic. It's trending higher. It pulled back. It looks like it's holding this low. It's breaking the 60-minute trend line. I like the seasonal chart. So you can see it's a pretty easy decision-making process for me when I know what I'm looking for. I don't like this chart. It's not very clean. You can see it's got wide swings. I would just pass on that. I like, there's something to be said for deliberate trading action, which is not, crazy volatile. I don't like this as well either. Like if you look back in the past, there's a lot of resistance in the background. I don't really like the trend. The seasonality looks great, but I don't really like the chart 100%. So I would probably just move on that one. This one, the chart looks interesting, but I don't know if this is a bad tick or whatever, but I don't like that kind of price action, but the chart looks fantastic. The seasonal chart looks okay. So I may consider that again later. KIM, I actually have a position in this one. This was one of the ones that I was going to highlight yesterday. What I did was I waited for this pullback, and I've got an alert set on here in case it breaks the low to possibly get out of the trade. But basically what I was looking at here, if I zoom into the 60-minute chart, it looked like my entry was right around this point here where I marked entry. It came down, it put in a low, it retested the low, it held, it put in a minor double bottom. Momentum shifted on the 60-minute chart. It put in a higher high, put in a higher low, and then I was sort of interested in the trade, right? When it came back up and it held that low, put in a higher low. So I got in a little bit early in this area somewhere, and I did that risking no more than 2% of my account size using a call option that is, priced out a couple of months. So I won't get into too much detail about that, but this is basically how I looked at executing the trade. I drew some fibs in here just to see if it would hold that zone. I actually don't really need those. Let me just, just because it makes the chart messy, I don't really need those. Just want to remove this drawing. So that's basically what it looks like. So my trigger was basically like it looked like a double bottom and the market structure started to shift. The trade is working out at this point in time. I didn't have any really clean trend lines here to break. So, I used an alternate sort of methodology to assess that. I like the seasonality. So that, that is one that I've actually, that is one of the ones I wanted to show the group yesterday that I actually executed a trade on. And I'm just going to flip through the chart here. This one looks decent chart-wise. You know, you had a professional gap here. It came back, but it held and it pushed forward. I don't like the way the seasonality looks on this. It looks like it's coming into a bit of a seasonal low, but there's a lot of chop here and then, you know, choppiness to down action right in that area. So I don't really like that. It's not to say that it won't go higher, but, you know, I'd like to see all things sort of line up because I've got a lot of different opportunities here. You know, this scan just brought up 16 potential trades today. This chart looks interesting. The only thing I don't like about this is you can see we had, you know, it's like you throw a rock and it skips and then it, you know, it bounces and it, you know, it skips again. And these skips are getting really tight. It's starting to sort of lose energy. And I don't like how it put in a lower high here from this high, came down, it put in a lower high, and then it stair-stepped down and broke that low. So not to say it won't go higher. The seasonal tendency looks a little choppy in here, but then, you know, at the end of March, it looks like it really picks up. I don't really like that. I think there's better opportunities. So, you know, so I'm not going to get into too many more specifics, but this is basically, I just wanted to show the group how, you know, when you have a scanning process, how to scan for things if you understand what conditions you're looking for. This is how I do it. So you can, you know, you can use a scanning process to look for whatever you're looking for and, you know, put it together. And then you should be able to, when you're comfortable with the charts, you should be able to get a pretty quick idea. Like when I look at this, I go from left to right. I like the chart. I don't like how it put in a lower high here. 60-minute chart looks like it's sort of bottoming. I don't like the seasonal period within, you know, the end of like close to where we are. It looks a little bit sideways. So, you know, it takes me a couple of seconds just to assess that. Okay, this is another one I took a position in yesterday. It looked like the same setup that I talked about earlier, but it came up on the scan again. I put an alert in here in case it drops below. In case it drops below this level, I probably want to get out of the trade. If it's, you know, if it drops below this swing point, I'm not interested. So what I did was I got in somewhere on this pullback and it's starting to push back up to the high side. If you zoom into the, you know, the seasonality chart looked great, looks awesome. And if you look at the 60-minute chart, which was really my trigger, what you had was you had this kind of situation here where you have like a channel, right? You have a channel. If I duplicate this, and we didn't break out of the channel, but what I liked about that sort of channel or flag was within that we came to the bottom of it, right? We touched the bottom of it, we pushed up, we came back down, we put in sort of a double bottom here, and then we came back and we retested it. This is a 60-minute chart, so these are pretty significant bars. So we tested double bottom, triple bottom, and then we pushed off. We broke this peak here. There's the confirmation on this trigger here. And the expectation is that it's going to come up here and at least test this trend line. But what I'm expecting is I have another pattern I look at. It's called a 1, 2, 3, 4 channel. And I'm expecting this to break out of the top of this and keep going on its way to potentially break this trend line on the daily chart and put in, you know, a higher high up here. You know, so you're expecting you've got a swing here, comes down, pulls back, comes up, pulls back. I'm expecting it to put in a higher high and break above the peak of this swing high. So that's the expectation. Obviously anything can happen there, but the seasonality would suggest that it's got, you know, it's got legs to move. So I won't spend too much more time on that. That's sort of the, you know, what I'm looking at there. Pretty simple methodology. Here's another chart. This one looks interesting. The seasonality looks pretty decent. We're just waiting for the 60-minute chart to come up. Seasonality looks pretty decent until, you know, geez, all the way until the end of April. And this one actually looks pretty interesting. You know, you've got your pullback here. I'll probably add this to my watch list. I'll try and figure out, like if I look at the 60-minute chart, you know, you don't have any clean trend lines here. You've got that kind of situation there. This actually looks similar to the last one where you've got this channel. So if it breaks above, let's say here, I could put an alert there. If it breaks above that line there, it might be interesting to look at, or I could put an alert. You know, you can't watch these all the time once you see the opportunity. It's too early to get into this. But what I could do is maybe put an alert here or put an alert here. and it will, email me, or it'll make a noise if I'm close to my computer, so that I can, go back and look at that, and I know something's going on with it. So that's one of the ways that you can manage, opportunities as well as using alerts. I'll actually show you how to do that. What you do in Thinkorswim is I've already set up. Let me see if I remember how to do this. I've already set up in the notifications to email me. So there's sort of a macro setting that you have to set to do that. And then what you do is you can just, like, for example, right click on, I'm going to extend it all the way to the right because I don't know where the price action is going to break. It could come all the way down here and then break. But then what you do is you select a pointer, right click on this. And what I'm going to do is just set an alert. And the setting that you want to use is create alert withdrawing, right? So I want to say if the price crosses above it, then it's going to notify me, and I'm going to put a note in there, and I'm going to say 60-minute trigger. It'll put this note in the email. 60-minute trigger on, this is DCT, and review chart for possible tradable opportunity. Now, I wouldn't normally put all this text in here because I'm aware of what I'm doing, but this is just to sort of highlight what's going on. So I go create, and now this will stay active in the market, and I don't have to look at this anymore. If it breaks that trend line, it's going to alert me. There goes the bell for the end of the day. That's what that was. So if it breaks that trend line, it will alert me, and then I can come back and I can look at it and say, do I want to get into that trade? So just a couple more charts to look at. So here's another one. This one looks interesting. It's got a double bottom in here, sort of, but you've got this, you've got that lower high in place. I don't really like that. Seasonality would suggest it's going to move higher. And on the 60-minute chart, you can see a double bottom in there. Double bottoms, by the way, in my opinion, are very reliable patterns. I like them a lot. You can see this double bottom here. On the 60-minute chart, 60-minute charts are very, very reliable. But, here's the caveat. This is another good thing about Thinkorswim. If you look at this, right, you can see this is one of my criteria for avoiding trades, impending news. And part of impending news to me is upcoming earnings announcements that will basically skew technical analysis, just based on it will just throw technical analysis out the window. So you've got an earnings conference call on the 24th, which it's not like it's not like tomorrow or anything, but it is coming up, and that might cause some concern with taking a position. Like, for example, I wouldn't want to trade on this last earnings call. This is something good about Thinkorswim. It puts it right on the chart. So I can see here, let's say we were a little bit closer and we haven't triggered the trade and we were closer to that. I'd probably want to pass on the trade until at least the conference call or the earnings call was over. So let's see here. Now we've got another chart. I don't like the looks of that chart. Seasonality wise, trending wise, it looks like it looks terrible. And we have one more opportunity here. This one looks interesting. I just don't like how it's gapped in here. See how the price gapped down to the 50? But this is something that, seasonality would suggest it's got a little bit more legs to run. And if I zoom into the 60-minute chart and I look at, I can see some sort of fib retracement in here. Let's see here. I'm going to grab a fib retracement. This low to this high, you can see we came right into that 50 to 61.8 zone. You'd want to see it sort of hold this area here, and then possibly as a trigger. I'm just looking for a potential support area. Oops. I want a trend line now. Still actually getting used to this platform. I haven't been using it that long. So, and it looks like you even actually have a channel here. So let me duplicate this. Yeah, you've got somewhat of a channel. So what I'm looking for here then is, you've come into somewhat of a support zone. If we break this trend line, we might get interested in this trade. So I'm actually going to set up another alert on this. Let me just extend the trend line there, and let me create an alert with the drawing. And I want it, if it crosses above, I'm just going to put a quick note, check for possible trade, and this is ALK. Okay, so I mean that's a 60-minute chart. So now I have an alert set up in there. I don't have to watch it anymore. If it breaks that trend line, it will alert me to that, either with sound and or an email that I check my emails regularly anyways. These are 60-minute bars. If I catch it within a couple hours, it will give me more than enough time. So to the CSTA Oakville Group, I hope that helps in sort of solidifying some of the ideas that we were talking about yesterday. Remember, this is how I do it, and you know, you're not obviously not obligated to look at this methodology, but this is something that I learned over the course of a number of years, and just sharing, you know, ideas and sharing, what has been, helping other members. I hope that's helpful in the spirit of sharing. Trust but verify. If you're interested in this methodology at all, test it out for yourself, paper trade it, make sure it works. Always, I'm not making any recommendations here, obviously, but always manage your risk properly. We talked about, position sizing, risk management is more important than setups, in my opinion. You have to have good setups and positive expectancy, but you also have to be able to manage your risk, understand what risk of ruin are. Have a look at those 2 books I recommended. I'm going to send this out with a copy of the presentation slide deck. So if you have any questions, let me know. If you want me to do a quick video on anything to help solidify any of the ideas or on anything else, let me know as well. I'm open to doing that. I'm in front of my computer most of the day anyways. This video is getting pretty long, so I'm gonna cut it off here, and I look forward to seeing everyone at the March CSTA Oakville Chapter meeting. So good luck, good trading, good technical analysis, and I hope to see you guys all again soon. I hope this is helpful. Bye for now.